Cinderella Chats. I'm your host, Cinderella Field. Yes, that's really my name, along with your co-host, Sandy Hunter. We are so excited to be here to share some insight about life, love, and relationships. So let's get to it. Hi, Sandy.
Hey, how are you?
I am good. I'm really good. So good to see you.
Well, it's great to see you and to be back and to stretch my podcast arms and legs.
Oh, yes.
So
and
wonderful.
Our minds.
Which right now, from what's happening in the world around me, you probably see smoke at the top of my head because I can't even process any of it.
Well, it's pretty crazy, don't you think?
It's absolutely crazy.
I mean, it's just like you're waiting for the next
shoe to fall.
Correct. And how many shoes are up there?
I don't know. Shoe to fall, bullet to fly, whatever's happening right now.
And lies to come out of
Yes.
the mouth.
Well, you know what's so bad is you can lie now on TV and
people believe it.
Obviously, no one even feels guilty about it.
I know, it's crazy.
That's what my mom used to say to me. She used to say, listen, I knew out of all my children, I could look at you and tell in 2 seconds if you were lying to me. Mm-hmm. That's why I never did it, because I suck at it.
Me too.
But evidently, there are some really good people up at the top that don't suck at it, because they almost had me convinced the other night. I was watching something. I was like, oh, man, she's really good. She's really trying to convince these people of this. And I thought to myself, there is some person out there who totally believes everything that's coming out of her mouth. Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
See, I'm on a tyrant today about this again.
Well, I mean, it is. It's like, when is the world going to calm down again? And guess what? I mean, I've said this before, it's not.
It's not going to calm down.
No. And so, I mean, how do we live a normal life anymore?
What is normal?
Yes,
That's
I know.
my question. What the heck is normal? My normal is totally evidently not what normal is today.
Well, and I'm wondering, has it ever been normal?
Cinderella, you know how many times I've had people say, because we moved down onto the farm. So what do you do in one day? I'm like, well, okay. I'm down here taking care of baby calves.
Killing black widows.
Killing black widow spiders. I got my bucket in my hand. I'm walking all over my acreage, harvesting all these blackberries. And people are like, oh, that just doesn't sound like fun. I mean, it just doesn't sound like. And I'm like, okay, so take yourself back 50 years ago, even. Just take a step back.
Oh, take it back 20. I mean, just 20. I mean, for God's sakes, is better than what it is today. Don't you think?
Yes. I can't wrap my mind.
I'd like to take it back 50.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, so what's wrong with natural fruits and vegetables? What's wrong with actually taking care and raising cattle that you can actually eat, that that are injected with hormones and all this other kind of crazy stuff? What's wrong with that? Mm-hmm. It's such a fast-paced, what's good for me right now world that I can't even answer half the questions people ask me half the time. I know I probably look dumb, just sitting there looking at them thinking, do you really say that to me?
Yeah, and they just want to make things so easy so they can go and do things that make them feel good.
Absolutely, because that's Satan's main thing. Satan wants people to think that, well, yeah, we have this guide here, perfect GPS that God's given us, but really, let's just use our emotions to make our decisions, because that's worked. That's why the divorce rate is so high right now, because people are acting out emotionally. Well, what's good for me? It's all about self, not looking at the overall picture. See, I don't even know how I got started on this. See, I'm on a roll because I'm just really, really disgruntled about how some families are
not being families.
No, they're just cheapening all the family values and what it meant to be a family.
I don't even think they know what the word value means.
I know, it's so sad. It breaks my heart because I see so many couples. We were talking about it not too long ago about the couples that I said that are struggling and going through this and going through that. And I just sat back and scratched my head and think, are they thinking about their kids? Are they thinking about what the future is going to look like 5 days down the road when you decide to leave your spouse and your kids and go do whatever it is that you want to do to make yourself feel good
and start a new life with another family that you're not connected to from a DNA or a blood standpoint? I mean, really? You know, I mean, that's why I think that I need to talk about divorce.
Right.
I mean, do you walk down the aisle when you fall in love and, you know, the guy asks you to marry him and you're walking down the aisle with one hand behind your back, fingers crossed. If this doesn't work out, it's okay. I'll just start over.
Oh, wait, till
that's
I
crazy.
Find my new love. Isn't what that young kids do?
Find my new love, find my new whatever. Maybe I'll be, you know, I'm a woman today, but maybe I'll be a man. I mean, I could go down so many rabbit holes right now that are so ridiculous. Or, you know, I mean, everybody does it nowadays anyway. I mean, there are a lot of people that get divorced, so why not get a divorce? I mean, it's the craziest thing that I can't imagine, Sandy. I mean, I mean, I've said this before, I think, but I mean, I really did mean when I said I do, and until he didn't.
Right.
I mean, and that's the truth. He didn't. And the attorney that I went to didn't help matters.
No.
I mean, as a matter of fact, do you remember me telling you that? I mean, I've told you the story about standing in front of that painting after he left here, the painting of In God's Hands. And I'll need to share that on my website so that people can see it. But I stood in front of that painting. I'll just start there. How about that?
That's perfect.
And said, God, what do you want me to do now? What do you want me to do? Here we go again, ... Okay.
Right.
And he said, I want you to move out of my way, Cinderella. I was like, what does that mean? You know, what does that mean? And he told me specifically, I mean, if my story changes, you let me know. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, correct me.
You got
on
it.
air.
You got it.
Okay. He said, I have had it with him mocking me. I've had it with his friends mocking me. I've had it with that church mocking me and that program that he's involved with mocking me. Move out of my way. I said, okay, so what does that mean? Do you want me to file for a divorce? I want you to file. That didn't say get one. And I said, listen, that does not make sense to me. That's not what your word says. But he didn't tell me to get one. See, he wanted, I guess, the opportunity to get the other person's attention.
Right.
Or perhaps my attention, you know? And I said, do you know what you're asking me to do doesn't make sense? So you're going to have to show me clearly that this is you telling me to do this. And he said, okay, I will. You have to trust me. And I said, do you know how painful this will be for me? And you know what he did? Really, Cinderella? Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
My son, Jesus, suffered and died for your sins and everybody else's sins. He said, if you stay in it, you're not going to like it. Move out of my way. I don't want to have to meet him and say, I don't know him. That's where it started.
And I remember you telling me that. And, you know, and I just want to say this much. What I think is, Cinderella, is thank God that you were in where you were at in your relationship with Christ and your faithfulness to do that, because that takes a very courageous person to turn all that over into God and trust in him. Because here's what we do. And this is what
I didn't want to.
I know you didn't. But here's what a lot of people do without even knowing it. They turn it over, then they take it back. Because they think,
I did that too.
yeah, they think, well,
I tried to.
yeah, they think, well, I can find the better solution, God. And, you know, I think sometimes God is just our rewards here on earth are nothing compared to our rewards that we're going to receive in heaven for being obedient. Just like you said, when the time comes, it tells us in the Bible that He's not going to care for a lukewarm Christian. He's not. You're either 100% in the game or you're not. When you're in 100% of the game, you will have trials and tribulations. Look at Paul. Paul was in 100%. He did some of his best writings, and some of the best godly words that have been written were written where? In a cell up to his ankles and waist, eyesight that he couldn't hardly see. Yet he knew that in the end, what was going to be waiting on him versus what's here on earth. Well, guess what? That's a far cry difference from standing in a cell of waste versus now. Oh, well, whatever makes me comfortable. You know, I have all these things, technologies at my fingertips. I can do anything to make my life simple. And whatever my heart tells me I want to do, I'm going to go off that emotion and do it. That's the problem. Satan is a big fat liar, and he has so many people blinded to the truth. You stood up for the truth and did what you were supposed to do. Now, here's the thing. Do I think that God's going to grab somebody by the shoulders one day and say, I'm getting ready to hold you accountable for some stuff, and you're not going to like it? You know what he's going to do? I think in the same retrospect, he's going to look at you and say, you were obedient, my child. Very well, good job done, servant, and going to welcome you right in those doors. But it's hard. What you did was not easy.
No, it was very hard. And that was the night before I went back to the attorney's office. And I had girlfriends here the 2 days before that, and most of them had gone through a divorce or they were going through a divorce. And so, you know what they say, birds of a feather flock together, and misery loves company. And, you know, looking back, I can say all those things now, but I still have to go back to being in front of that painting. But I did try to take it back.
Sure.
5 days later.
Yep. And then what happened?
Oh, the attorney refused to. And when I went in there to sign the papers, I said, if I change my mind, can I take this back? Oh, yeah. No problem. Okay. So I did, and he wouldn't. He told me, he said, well, he has already counterfiled, which you've seen the papers. I showed him to you. That's a lie. Mm-hmm. He had not done it yet. But what these attorneys do, and what this attorney did, and the other one that I spoke with, before I decided to go see the one that I went to see, I mean, they were on my Facebook, looking at my Facebook, you know, figuring out who I was and the status of everything. Mm-hmm. And they told me to bring in all these financial records, and, you know, we need to know how much you spend every month and just everything about your life.
Right.
But mostly about money.
Right.
Okay. So when I went in there, I mean, I was just told things like, oh, you're not going to have to worry about anything for the rest of your life, this kind of thing. I'm going to right all your wrongs. I mean, just this melodramatic.
Right.
What would you call it? Behavior.
Yes.
You know, and telling me, making promises to me, and knowing that I was already so upset, because I was so upset about the whole thing.
Taking advantage of your mind being scattered and your heart being torn. You know what I mean?
In so many directions.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, and not knowing what to really do. I mean, I told you that the only thing that I could do was take a shower and brush my teeth. I had to go and have my hair done, and I cried all the time and have fake eyelashes put on just so I looked decent.
Yeah, trying to make it through the whole turmoil.
Right. It was hard. But them refusing to do, I was no longer in control of my own life. I felt so out of control at that moment. And so what this attorney besides all this melodramatic
Right.
stuff that he told me on the first meeting. And he told me when to be back. Now you go, and he told me to withdraw every penny but $25 out of the account, which he shouldn't have done. That's a violation.
Yes.
And he told me to do that. And then he said, you be back here in the morning with a check for $7,500 and we'll get this done. So I even come back the next, because I was afraid not to. I mean, it was just like that adamant. And as he left the room, much like my door right there, there was a door, and he opened it first. And then he dramatically turned around and he said, I want you to remember one thing. You are the boss of you. And I am going to right all your wrongs. Then he turned around and he said, I'll see you in the morning. And he turned around and he walked out. That is when I told you about the painting.
Right.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And that's how it all began.
Wow. Well, I know one thing.
But he saw money is what he saw. He saw money and a way to make money. And believe me, they made plenty when I reveal how much I paid and how much he paid and what went on where that stuff is concerned and just everything that was involved in the whole process of it. It's pretty crazy.
And your story is, oh, man. Everything that I've seen and I've read, it comes right back down to who walks in truth, who walks in, who's really in it to help people and who's really in it to help their pocketbook. You know what I mean?
I can promise you that these people were in it to pad their pockets. And there was so much deception. I have a page and a quarter of violations.
Oh, yeah, it's awful. And it's almost so sad because not only are you going through one of the most hardest times in your life, but now you're paying somebody to help you. And I much rather have the type of attorney that says, okay, you're paying me $7,500, Cinderella. But in the back of my mind,
that was just the
I know, the initial down payment. I know. But in the back of my mind, though, I would like to be the person that says, but is this really what you want? If this is really what you want, we can move forward. Where's the encouragement there? Because if it would have been to me, somebody that was a Christian and a divorce lawyer, can those even go hand in hand? But they should. I would be the type of person that would be, okay, yes, but have you guys really done everything you possibly could have done? And is there any way we can try to mediate some of this? Because I'm going to be honest with you. I know how angry you were, and I don't doubt this for a second. And I know how stubborn.
Angry?
Yeah.
Or anal?
Angry.
Oh.
You were. And hurt you were.
I was hurt more than anything.
I know.
I was devastated.
Shocked. I know.
I was just like, why does this continue?
Right. But I think if there would have been a place and a time where you guys could have at least just sit down with some type of a mediator, that maybe some of this could have shook out a little bit. Maybe it would have been a little bit different. Not saying that you wouldn't have went ahead and got divorced, but maybe there would have been some things that could have went a little bit more smoothly, or maybe it could have just collapsed all. If he would have known that you didn't want to do it, could have made a difference. Who knows? It's neither here nor there now. Your point now and your standing is, okay, God, you've got me here. You took me out of the way so you can make some changes. So why I'm standing over here, what do you want me to do? Well, you went through all that, and
right. And people don't understand even today while I'm still single. My God, the world is so messed up. Are you kidding me? If the father of my children and the grandfather to my grandchildren, and I've told you that, the good parts about him were so good, but then there was another side, and I'm not going to go into the other side because he knows, and you've seen it. You've heard, I've heard it. So, yeah. It's just absolute truth. And then the fact that he had a girlfriend, it's just, it was filed for on the 16th of March. And on the 24th, he was in a relationship. I mean, seriously? With a stranger?
You and I both know.
I mean, that was just crazy to me. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, what's really going on? And then the posting started on social media on her part, not his part. And it was just like, are you kidding me? And I mean, I remember looking at the social media about my soulmate and, the key and unlocking it. I mean, I still remember that. And I'm just like, okay, what's going on?
And you think about that, and you and like probably million other women and men wake up and think, what in the world just happened? I was just talking to this person. They were lying to me. I found out that, okay, there's another person involved in my spouse's life. My spouse is supposed to be here and she's actually here. I mean,
and we were involved in church. Okay.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
It's crazy.
Satan has managed to worm his way in wherever there's a willing participant. And I'm not perfect. Oh Lord, I have had to ask for forgiveness so many times because I have listened to that whisper. But it just seems like no matter where you turn now, there's whispers everywhere. And they're whispers in the form of social media.
The social media is crazy.
Oh, yeah. What today's definition of woman and man need to be. Whatever makes you feel.
Pornography is crazy.
Yeah. Whatever
the
makes
Facebook stuff. All you have to do is just, I mean, people reuniting from high school, leaving their long-term marriages because they want to relive their childhood.
Exactly.
I mean, just,
so if you start,
we don't have to have wrinkles anymore. There's Botox, there's this, there's that. I mean,
have you ever stopped to think about, though, Cinderella, how selfish what you're saying sounds? Because it's all about me, 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 me.
Yes, it's not us, or and us. I mean, the Trinity. Yes. Me, him, and God. I mean, when you make a covenant with someone,
your spouse, then your children, and everything else trickles down.
Yes.
That covenant and God is somewhere on the bottom now. Like I told you, where that Bible is.
Well, they think it's a joke. They think that all I have to do is say, I'm sorry, I really didn't mean it, which I will share at some point about the person that I've listened to and the book that I have on all of that stuff and the truth. You know how I feel about what the Word of God says and what it says. But people just want to take it and go, oh, no, God said this. No, God didn't say that. The Pharisees said that. Mm-hmm. I mean, really. And Moses said that. It wasn't God. And Jesus says it clearly in Scripture. But we don't want to hear that anymore because we don't want to hear the truth. Right. And I just go back to If I Were the Devil. You know, that video that was done back in the 60s. If I Were the Devil. And I'll share that again on my website. I mean, this is exactly where we're at and why we're going through the things that we want to go through. So, I mean, this is more like her divorce diary day. And I will just say that when all of that happened and I went to Bible college for the semester that I did and had the opportunity to sit down with a prominent pastor here in town. I won't say who it was. And I had an hour and a half conversation with that person. And because I didn't want to do this, I didn't want to talk about this stuff. You know that I have fought and fought and fought, and I fought it for years.
Well, and you're a very private person too. You don't have very many people inside your world, and you don't throw your stuff out there. So yes, for you to open up and talk about it, like I've said before, is just a huge thing for me because you don't like airing anything that, you're a typical A person and you take care of business. And this isn't something that I know you fought tooth and nail not to have to do, but God's pushing you in that direction and he pushed me toward you. So I'm pretty sure that that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Well, I mean, just the way that we got together is just like, really?
Right.
I mean, shocking to me. Mm-hmm. That didn't even make sense. But I mean, even, people that are, even closer to me, they were just like, first of all, you hate social media. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Do I?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
And, but people would think that I did because I'll post pictures up on my stories or I'll video something.
What people don't understand though is people are behind you, encouraging you. You need to do this. That way your podcasters know who you are and they can get to know you and how you are and what your life is like. So I understand when you post those. It's not, oh, look at me. I'm this grand person, blah, 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 blah. She does not like social media.
I can't stand it
and
because I know that it does more harm than good.
Absolutely.
I mean, it just does. And I wish we didn't have it. I mean, I love the internet. I've been a big fan of it from a research standpoint. And I think that being able to get on it and shop and look at things like that and figure out those sort of things, that's a great thing. But the harm that it has caused the family and just our society and our world, I mean, our world, not just the United States, but globally, it's scary.
Well, it kind of makes you wonder how in some of those communistic countries that they don't allow social media.
I know why.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
North Korea, China, all of that's censored.
And Sandy, you know what? You know what causes divorce? What the biggest factor in divorce is now? At one time, it was more financial stuff that really caused problems. But I'm just going to say what it says now. It's infidelity. It is financial problems. It is domestic violence, substance abuse, lack of communication, lack of commitment that goes along with infidelity, lack of intimacy that goes along with infidelity, and then abuse and marrying too young. And I think when you marry too young, like, when I was 16 and ran off to get away from an abusive situation, I think that's totally different than, 10, 20, 30 years into a marriage and 40. And I mean, even the great divorce is a real deal today. And it's just like, what the heck are you doing that at this time in your life for?
Right.
So those are the things that create some of the problems, the majority of the problems. And we need to make changes, just like they've made changes in our state, the heartbeat bill. Okay?
I think we need to look at some of those individually, maybe with our upcoming podcasts, and just break them down and just look at infidelity and look at
what has caused it for the most part. Social media is a big deal.
Yeah, look at those things and talk about them because that's an important factor in today's time. I mean, we can't just stick our head in the sand like I've been saying for the last couple of weeks.
Well, we can, and we're going to continue to get the same result.
Yeah. Or we can talk about it and hack some people off, but tell the truth.
Yeah. And then maybe, hopefully, prayerfully, we'll get people to start thinking and go, I think we should start doing things differently. I mean, that's my goal anyway, is to
make people think
and open the door to the truth so that we can create possibly some change that needs to be initiated, especially in the family law system, because it's certainly not justice. It is certainly not fair. It's not fair.
Right.
And there's no integrity where it's concerned.
Absolutely.
And no accountability. They don't hold the people that take an oath to their career of justice. They don't hold them accountable. No. And things need to change. So, I mean, that's what I mean, it just seems like we get, we go
get
off
started and then we go,
where are we?
Well, the thing is I think with God leading, he wants us to talk about things that are difficult and they are hard. Some things are great, and easy and fun. And we've done podcasts that are easy and fun. That's wonderful and all. But I think right now in today's time, it needs to be truth and fact, whether good or bad, truth and fact. That way people know and can hear where we're coming from with the understanding that it may spark a thought process, because that's what changes people is one thought and it's acted upon. And so if we can tell the truth about something and cause somebody to go, maybe that is right, and they start digging into it themselves, that's where change comes about.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's what we'll focus on. And that was just the beginning of what I call her divorce diary. Lessons learned the heart way, HEART, because that's the hardest way.
That's right.
Yep. So, well, it's been great to talk with you, Sandy, and just to open the door to this subject. And we'll continue to talk about it and whatever else comes up. And I will see you next Tuesday. Don't forget to tell your friends that we are back at it at podcasting, and, share it with them. And don't forget to subscribe and tune in every Tuesday. Until then, Cinderella Chats. If you enjoyed the show today, share it with your friends so they can listen in to our conversations about life, love, and relationships. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Cinderella Chats, the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. We look forward to our Tuesdays together and know you will too.